Hi everyone! Thanks for choosing my furniture makeover video. I'm Donna from Shoot Creations. If you're new here, welcome. On my channel, I repaint, makeover, and refinish furniture and other DIY projects for around the house. I'm self-taught and I learn more with every project. Hopefully you'll learn some tips, tricks, and techniques that you can use on your own projects. If you like this sort of content, please subscribe. I upload every Thursday and I would love to have you along for the ride. In today's video, we're going to be making over a beautiful sideboard. So let's get right to it. Okay, so we're going to be making over this beautiful sideboard that I got. It is wood, and I got it from Facebook Marketplace, but it was in desperate need of some care. So I began by giving it a good sanding or scuff coat on all the surfaces to prep it for paint. And the top, I thought I was going to be able to have a wood top, but once I started sanding, it was veneer and it was quite damaged. You can see there the holes at the top. It wasn't salvageable. So then I started priming, as I always do, with the bin primer. That is truly one of the best primers. So that is a stain blocker. So I was able to prime over this dark wood with no worries about bleed through. So I'm doing cabinet doors and I'm doing the drawers, and I also did the full unit. So then I began to paint. I used Annie Sloan's Amsterdam Green paint, and that was my first time using Annie Sloan paint, and it was beautiful paint. I absolutely loved it. It's really, really thick. I found it, I had to get a little used to it when I was actually painting, but once it dried, it was just gorgeous. I would definitely use it again, and I can see why there's so much talk about how great that paint is. So I put on a coat of paint all over all of it, and then I wanted to do a lot of shading on this. So you can see this is after the first coat dried. So I'm using the Amsterdam Green paint again, and I'm also using a Rustoleum charcoal chalk paint as well for my shading. So I'm going to put some green paint down to get the surface wet, and then I'm going to be putting the charcoal where I want the shading to be. So it's going to be basically around the edges and around the molding around the door, and try to give it some real natural looking age to it. The colors work beautifully together. The charcoal really brought out a richness in the green. It was just gorgeous. And so you can see I'm working the edges now. I wanted a really soft look, really subtle. I didn't want any harsh lines, so I blended quite a bit. And you'll be able to see here as we continue. I'm going to now go around the edge of where the cabinet goes, and I'm using quite a bit of the gray. And then I'm putting the green on, and then I'm going to do a really good blend. And here the goal is to have the charcoal paint into the edges of that cutout, and to really add some depth to it. The goal of doing shadows or highlights is to really bring out the dimension in the piece. So all around this panel, I really want to add that dark charcoal to really make it pop. And again, I'm blending, and blending. And I will do this step where I blend quite a bit with the wet paint. And then you'll see a bit later on, I'm also going to do a dry brush on top to just put even more depth to those shadows. So you'll see I'm just going to continue around, adding the charcoal where I want that depth to show, and then adding the green to mix it. And especially around like the curves and in the corners, that's where it would be extra dark. So you really want to make sure you get that charcoal paint into those corners. And again, I really wanted the soft transition, so I blended quite a bit. If you were looking for something a bit more dramatic, you wouldn't need to blend quite so much. And again, if you like this kind of video, if you like seeing painted furniture makeovers and refinishing furniture, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you as part of our group here on YouTube, and I have a ton more projects to come, and I would love to have you along for the ride. So again, here on the top panel, you'll see I'm doing mostly green with just a little hint of the dark around the edges. And again, I'm blending quite a bit. I want that top panel to be mainly just green to really make that come out as a highlight color, essentially. And here I'm doing the same thing on the side. So you'll see the dark is around the edges, the green's in the middle, and then I'm blending it out. And you'll also notice here that I am spraying the paint with water just to get it a little looser. so it'll blend really well. Chalk paint is excellent for blending. It really works quite well. A little bit of water and it will blend really, really well. You can get a really nice seamless blend. And if you have any questions about refinishing furniture, painting furniture, please just put them in the comments. I will get back to you and I'll answer any questions you have. And you can see I'm just using a chip brush for most of my blending. I find they work really well. And again, here I am doing the drawers. You can see that's when I still had hope that the top could be wood. It still had the damaged spots on the top at that point. I was trying to figure it a way if I could fix them. But in the end, there really wasn't a way. The veneer was totally gone. So I ended up just painting the top. And so again, you'll notice I'm going around the edges and then leaving that front panel of the drawer mainly green. Again, the dark colors will recede and light colors will come forward. So that's what really gives you that dimension. And I'm blending, blending, blending. So this is dry brushing. So basically I'm putting some paint on the brush and then I'm taking 90% of it off on a paper towel. And then I'm just using charcoal paint here. And then I'm just going into the very edges. You wouldn't want to do the entire area that you just blended. That would be too much. So you're just trying to do the deepest edges. So the corners where that panel meets the side piece, and really put in that dark charcoal to really make it pop. It makes a huge difference. And so with dry brushing, again, you just want to keep working it and keep blending it. If you think you've put too much on, you can always put a bit of base color back on to tone it down. This is paint. It's meant to be fun. You can always fix anything with paint. Nothing's ever lost, which is why I love it so much. And I really think you should experiment and try different things. And you can always put the base coat back on if you're not happy with it. I absolutely love painting. I've been painting all my life in different forms, and I'm really, really loving painting furniture. I've been doing it for a few years now, and I think you can add so much personality and just so much character to a piece with just some paint. It's very, very fun. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of dry brushing on the corners here. Again, we're just trying to get that contrast. And so putting a bit here on the drawers. And then you'll see after I finish the dry brushing, oh, we're gonna go to the top. The top, I ended up painting it green, using the gray to give the shadows and to create that depth. And I used a small brush intentionally because I wanted a ton of brush strokes. I wanted it to be super textured, and I was really hoping to go for almost like a crinkled leather feel. So I used the gray and the green, and I covered the entire top with a ton of brush strokes. And then I ended up doing a slight sand and a clear coat, and it turned out beautifully. So I've clear coated the entire piece, and now I'm going to go on and do some waxing. So I'm using the dark wax, and again, this is just yet again going to richen up the color and make those shadows just that little bit darker to really, really boost that contrast. So I've used the dark all around the edges, and now that's clear wax that I'm putting on in the middle, because I don't necessarily want to add the dark to that top panel, again, because I'm trying to keep it lighter. So the darks will recede, then lights will come forward, and that's what's really going to give you that depth. So I find when I'm waxing, when I'm doing the dark wax, I find you always need to use the clear wax on all the other areas that you haven't used the dark wax, just to give it an even look. So you'll see I'm just rubbing it into the corners, taking off the excess, and again, really blending really well. I don't want any harsh lines. And the wax, I am such a fan of wax. It adds a finish like no other. And the dark wax gives such a depth and a richness to the color. It's just beautiful. I would recommend, if you haven't tried it, try it. Just remember, you always have to do your clear coat first, so the dark wax doesn't stain your piece. And here I'm doing the dark wax around the drawers. It just adds such a beautiful depth. It's well worth the effort. So once I finished the waxing, I put on the hardware. I had a combination of some of the old hardware and the new hardware that I spray painted gold, and I put it back on, and overall this piece turned out beautifully. The color is so rich and the shadows are so deep, and it is just an absolutely gorgeous piece. I was so thrilled with how this turned out, and the gold is the perfect little accent. The only thing I debated on was if I should have done a bit of gold gilding wax on some of the high points, just to add a bit of a true highlight. But I decided against it. I decided to just stick with a really clean look. So let me know if you think I made the right decision, or if I should put some gold gilding wax on some of the high points, just to add that little contrast. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I hope you really enjoyed the video. And if you did, give me a thumbs up. That would be wonderful. And again, if you have any questions, please just leave them in the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. So thanks again. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.